It's one of my favorite things about game day to like dive in, catch something, and look into the dugout at the two kids who play left field with me and see them like celebrating every moment that I have because they pushed me for that. Like if I drop it, if I dive and miss it, if whatever, like you can catch that, do it again.
Welcome to the Car Ride Home podcast. What a treat today. I'm joined by Ali Newland, who is a current senior outfielder catcher at LSU. Also worked with us last year, spent some time helping us out with the Alliance Fast Pitch. So we'll chat a little bit about that. But Ali, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Heck yeah. Well, first, it's kind of funny. We spent the car ride together a little
We
bit
did.
at the AFCS last year, but we're going to set the stage in the car. Most important, you get to choose what kind of music are we listening to?
Oh, I'm usually a country music girl in the car. I like a windows down, slow and easy kind of vibe.
Who's your favorite?
Right now, I really like Zach Bryan's new stuff, and I'm a big Cody Johnson fan, and I like Eric Church a lot too.
Nice. Okay, next most important question
Okay,
for softball players. Where are we eating on the car ride home?
really hard for me to pass up like a cheeseburger and fries. So any kind of like bar food. There's a place called Curbside here that's like sliders and tater tots and stuff.
Oh, is that like your go-to Baton Rouge place?
I love it. I love a cheeseburger. Like I might not like tell you that it's my favorite food. Like if you ask for my favorite food, but it's always what I come back to for sure.
It's a good choice there, you know? Well, you spent throughout travel ball, even nowadays, right? There's all kinds of car ride homes, good, bad, bus ride homes, probably now. But when I ask you, what is the most memorable car ride home? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Ooh, the most memorable car ride home. I guess this time it would have been a car ride and a flight home, but we I played for Georgia Impact, and the year that we won PGF was so cool. We had such a talented team. There's like a million of those players are on top 25 teams now and are having incredible careers. So that was pretty awesome and cool to look around like the huddle and know that like all these people are about to be incredible college softball players and contributors and have like no doubt about it. But that was definitely one of my most memorable from travel ball because it's just what you work for the whole year. It's what you talked about the whole year and getting to like accomplish it and appreciate it with my dad and like go home and see my family after that was really cool.
Super cool. Yeah, I remember that team. Give us a couple
Mm-hmm.
names from that team. Pretty
Oh
pretty
my
solid.
gosh. Julia Cottrell, Skylar Wallace, Ali Newland, Kelsey Bennett, who was the ACC Freshman of the Year, like 1 year later. Charlotte Eccles was on that team. Kelly Lynch was on that team. It was an unbelievable season. Jaden Fields was on that team. It was really, really cool. Like, so good for me to be surrounded by that many good players.
Yeah, that's legit team right there. We you
Yes.
mentioned your dad. Both your parents
Mm-hmm.
played sports, played collegiately. What were they like? I think that's so interesting of the
Mm-hmm.
role of mom, the role of dad in car ride homes. Were they
Yeah.
different? Did one play one role the other? What were those car rides like?
They were both super tough. Like I think that it was part of what made me so good. They both, like you said, were college ball players, so they like expected a lot from me, and I think it made me a lot of the player that I am today. I credit so much of that to them. So thankful for that, and I think it made me a little bit of a perfectionist for a while because like you want to please them and you want them to be proud of you. So they did a great job of like encouraging, but not like if I had a bad day, like being silent on the car ride home. So I think that made a huge difference for me. And as I got older, it only got better. Um, like the ride home and the like I guess just the positive like encouragement, even if it wasn't a great day, of just like reminding me that you get to play again tomorrow. This isn't football. Like you don't only get to play one time a weekend, you get to play again probably the next day and maybe the next day after that. So that was really cool and was huge for me. I know a lot of teammates who didn't have that kind of car ride home, and it was really hard, and still don't have that kind of car ride home in college. So it was really cool to have parents that were really encouraging the whole time. And a lot of times it was just dad because dad was coach forever and ever. And my mom was chasing my little brother around to whatever it is that he was going to. So it was great to have them both sometimes. But a lot of times it was just me and dad.
Speaking of which, I love the dad-daughter connection, right? A lot
Mhm.
of us, our dads grew up coaching us. Being on the other side of that, being the daughter of a coach, especially, at the travel ball, what was that like? Was it hard? Were there moments? And at what point did dad stop coaching too?
I think dad still coaches, so that's like a really cool thing for me. I still get to do this thing with him, but he coached me for my whole travel ball career. Um, I played on the like elite Georgia Impact team my last 2 years, and he was an assistant coach there, so got to do it with him the whole time. And it's hard, I think, a lot of the time because you don't get like the opportunities. This will sound bad like as soon as I say it, but let me explain. You don't get like some of the opportunities that I think some of the other kids get. Like you don't get to complain about your coaches, and you don't get to like complain about how the game went or this choice or that choice and things like that. You because like that's your people, And I think the other kids are looking at you. Your teammates are looking at you to set an example because you're the coach's kid. So you have to be on a little bit more than everybody else does. Um, I think on the flip side of that, though, it made me a way better player. Like I'm a better player for it. Um, for dad being coach because he knew the game so well. Like we sat at home and watched baseball. Like that's what we did, and we would pause the game when whatever happened, and he'd be like, "Where should this ball have gone?" Or like, "What pitch would you throw here?" Or whatever it is. We just got to talk shop all the time, and it made me so much better. Like we still do that kind of thing. Like we'll still watch softball together when he's here and be like, "Why?" Whatever the answer was. And it did. Like I know the game a lot better than maybe some other people who didn't have that. So I'm super thankful for it. Even if it was hard in the moment, I'm certainly better for it now.
I could tell by the way you play too that just your game IQ is very high. So that makes sense. But let's go back before travel ball. Set the stage for me. When were you first introduced to the game? And very important, do you remember the name of your first team?
Oh, I don't know if I remember the name. I bet the second that I could like hold a bat, though, I was probably holding one. Like I said, both my parents played college ball. They were really young when they had me, so we just played. Like my first word was ball. Um, like a lot of people's mom or dad or whatever, mine was ball. And that was just what we knew. It was what we did all the time. My dad talks about my parents lived in this little tiny apartment while my dad was in law school, and there's a little courtyard out there. And while my mom would sleep because she was working nights during the day, we would be out there playing wiffle ball in the courtyard. So it just forever, like all we knew was to play together. And I started like really playing, like organized playing, when I was I think 5 or 6, and I played on a little like mixed like baseball team for my little rec league that was around. It was guys and girls, and it was like modified t-ball kind of. Like it was coach pitch my first year, and then like if you struck out, I think you got to swing once off the tee. So like you still got to play the game like as it's played, but you got to learn and do all of those things too. It was the Bremen something. So I'm sure we were the Blue Devils, but I don't exactly remember. My first like real travel ball team, I was on the Georgia Elite though, that purple team.
I remember Georgia Lee. When did around what age? Do you remember what it was like when you're like, okay, I'm gonna get serious now. We're gonna commit as a family to this travel ball thing. I'm gonna go to tryouts. Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember what that transition was like, and maybe even some conversations that you had with your parents around that?
Yeah, we were young. I remember so that Georgia Elite team I played on for I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 years, but after that, my dad was like, okay, like I was coached by somebody else, and he was like, okay, like this team could be pretty good. We're gonna like take it over and change to Georgia Impact, like get in with a better organization who has some resources, who has some really good coaches, and we were I guess that would have been 9, 10. So like during 12U, we were like, okay, like we think these kids are pretty good and they really like enjoy what they're doing. Let's like see how good they could be. And I remember like transferring over there to those guys who run that organization, turning into Georgia Impact, and we were like flooded with great players and great resources. And it was really cool to play with kids from like all over the state. I'm from kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So like some kids from Atlanta that I had never met before, never really been around before, to get to play with them and be on a team with just really, really talented players, even being that young, was really cool.
I was looking back, which you're the class of 2020, which probably has so
Yes.
many things because of what
Yes.
happened that year. Although you got to, because you're in Georgia, so you got to play
I
your
got to
senior
play.
year, didn't you? And I have so many questions, but recruiting journey, what was
Mhm.
yours? Because I would imagine back then it was that time it was early, right?
Very, yes. So I committed to LSU my freshman year of high school,
Whew.
which is just insane. I think the rule change is such a good thing. You actually have kids who like know what they want. I remember being in like seventh, eighth grade, going on visits to these schools, and they're like, "Oh, what do you think you want to major in?" And I was like, "What are you talking about right now? I
What's a
have no idea."
major?
Right, right. It was crazy, but they had no other choice, so you
Yeah,
just did it then. And I think it's such a great change to be made. You give kids some time to just figure out who they are a little bit more. And for me, I got way better. Um, I was a really good softball player when I was young and all those things, but I was still really small. Like I committed to LSU, and then like during my sophomore year of high school, I like all of a sudden like filled out and got muscular and got a little bit bigger, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, like I could be pretty good here. But like when you're so young, everybody matures at different rates and gets better at different rates. You have plenty of kids who like I think of like Donnie Goborn, who's at South Carolina. Like if it had been later for her, like throwing 70 from whatever, like maybe she doesn't go to JUCO first. Maybe she whatever. And I just think everybody matures at a different rate, and giving people some more time is a good thing. Not only to get better as a player, but to like grow up here a little bit too.
I completely agree with you. I don't know if you remember this, but I was stalking your bio, and I'm curious your perspective on this. So you were ranked as a high school player as the
Okay.
number 20 in extra innings. We got to talk to Flo because you were number 55 in Flo. But I'm curious your perspective. Like back, did you pay attention to that? Like what? Because it probably started around the time you were in high school and we
Mm-hmm.
started ranking players. Did you pay attention to that? And what how did that affect you?
I think we paid attention to it some. Like I said, I played on a really, really talented team, even when we were young. So the ton of us were on that list, and it was a really cool accomplishment. But I credit my dad too, who's like this, like as cool as it is and as great and like a nod as it is from them. Like it doesn't mean anything, especially because like you're 12. What like, nobody knows. And like a ton of those kids who are on that list like maybe aren't very good anymore, or a ton of kids who didn't make the list are maybe the best players in the country now.
Yeah,
It didn't matter. So I credit like a huge credit to him for reminding us, not only the kids who are on the list but the kids who didn't make the list, like this isn't the end all be all. Nobody's telling you how good you're going to be. um, so I think that was kind of how we looked at it, like a really cool nod, appreciate the credit, but like you still got to put your head down and do the work.
yeah, it's so interesting. I bet if we go back and look at that class too, it's an incredible. I mean, you
This,
guys are all
yes,
seniors right now. It's
unbelievable.
and you're a competitor too, so sometimes I can even imagine like we would be similar. Of like, all right, well, who are those
Right,
19 in front of me? Let's go. I'm gonna go get to work.
right.
Them. Ali, you're having an incredible year once again. Your stats, your accolades, all SEC performer, all region performer. But you were just recently announced the LSU winner for, let me get this correct, the Brad Davis Community Service Award. And I'm looking
Yes.
at all of your Volunteer of the Year, SEC Community Service Award. What does that mean to you, and where does that stem from for all the work that you've done in the community there?
Yeah, I think it's one of my like most favorite accomplishments here, and I have been blessed to have a lot of them. But to be recognized like not only by your peers but by like a room full of people who don't know you, and they're like, okay, like this kid is doing something special, has been unbelievable. And I think what I have wanted my time here to be about more than anything, like I have the opportunity to impact like a new city and a whole like culture of girls who are watching college softball, and it's the most right now that it's ever been. So I think that is so cool, and for them to have like positive role models and people who remind them that yes, like I have all SEC stats, but at the same time, like I'm like serving the place that allowed me to do that. The people who fill the stands at Tiger Park, like it wouldn't be who I am without them. You wouldn't see like the highlights without our creative team. You wouldn't. everybody is a culmination of all of the people who allow their career to be what it is. And I've been so thankful to like serve Baton Rouge, and then for them to recognize that when they get here, like they don't care if I go 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. Like the people in left field don't care. Like they still come and they still want to talk to me and they still want to take pictures with me, and they're still like, I was at whatever event that you were at and you like made me feel happy to be there. And it's such a good perspective for me because I'm pissed when I go 0 for 4. Like I'm pissed and I'm having a terrible day. But then like you walk out there and there are still kids who are like screaming for you to come to the fence and sign their stuff. And it's just a good reminder that like you have to love on the people who allow you to be here. And what like a chance for me to do that with like a little bit of a spotlight, because then like you show people like this is what you should do and this is like how you should act and this is how you should treat people, and it's so much more important than your win-loss record or your stats. So incredibly thankful and like proud to be recognized for that, but I've always thought of it as more of a I get to serve these people and not like I have to go fill out my hours.
It's amazing. It's really impactful too what you're doing. Now you're a senior getting ready to literally graduate and playing in your final postseason
Yes,
here.
yes.
But when did you come into school knowing that, feeling that way of serving? Was there an older player who influenced you? Is it just the culture at LSU? Where did that actually come from when you got to campus?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say like a huge credit to my parents again. They have always been a treat people the right way, like kind of family. That's who we are. And so they definitely inspired me like that through high school. I did a lot of things in high school. My mom is one of the best, like, what can I do for people that I have ever met? Like, whatever it is that we're doing, whatever like time of year that it is, she's like, I feel like we could, whatever. But like how can we serve somebody else? She is always looking for ways to do that, and I think it certainly rubbed off on me. And then there have been a lot of players at LSU throughout my years here who have just made it a priority to like take the chance that they have to serve the community. Amanda Doyle was one. She did a great job of that. She's a teacher now and is still serving kids every day. Um, Mary Beth Gorsuch, who's pitching at Grant, or she's the pitching coach at Grand Canyon now. She was, I think, my first year was on the community service team, and it was just cool to like watch the way she loved people. And my previous assistant coach, Lindsay Leftwich, that was something she always was asking us to do. Like, how can we love people here? How can we like love our fans, love our teammates, whatever it is? And I think those people watching them do it rubbed off on me a ton. And they just took me with them. They're like, oh, Ali, we're going to the food bank today. Ali, we're going to whatever. And I was like, oh, like this really matters. Getting to watch them do that and watch them interact with people, and just kept it going and try to rub off on like my team now and remind them that how you treat this place and what this place remembers you as will have nothing to do with your ERA and nothing to do with, you know, your batting average. They'll think that that's cool and they'll look up at the All-American wall and everything, but like they're going to remember how you made them feel. And so incredibly thankful to them and like proud to have been a little piece of like what their experience in Baton Rouge is.
So good, Allie. Everything you just said, that is so powerful for young athletes, for parents, for your teammates right now. I love that. I remember last year we started the player advisory committee. We call it the PAC. And it was important, I think, because we talk about putting the athlete first and giving her a voice. So this is a first opportunity that, hey, they need to have a voice. And very similar to you, I was in the student athlete advisory committee, what we call
Mm-hmm.
SAC in college. And I appreciated you came on and spoke to our juniors and seniors in high school. But can you talk about that experience to the bigger audience of what is SAC and why would you encourage young athletes when they get to campus, when they get to college, to look for opportunities like that to be involved, to be a leader, to have a voice for their student body?
Absolutely. I think get involved any way you can is huge. And I'll talk about it from a personal perspective first, like not only from a leadership perspective, but you need people who are on your team and like I practice with you every day. Like you need somebody that when you see them out and about, they're not gonna like their first question is not gonna be how was practice. And I think that was huge for me because during COVID I couldn't see anyone. So my first year was like my roommates and the people that I got to practice with, and that was it. And so all I knew was like my performance and my practice. And that was hard because you just don't have other people. Like, you don't know that, like, your friend on gymnastics had a terrible practice day today too. And like, that's so comforting to know. Like, obviously you don't want them to have a terrible practice day, but it's nice to know that like somebody is living the same experience that you are. And so I think that's huge from a personal perspective. Um, from a leadership perspective, though, it's an unbelievable opportunity not just to interact with people that you don't interact with every day. I think that makes you just a better person overall, not even a better leader. But my experience on SAC has been awesome. I've served in a couple of different roles. So I was the director of our community service committee who planned outreach for the student athlete bodies who did, we do some things where like teams will have like they'll do like a team wide community service event. So everybody will go to something. So you help to organize those, or we do these things called service socials. So obviously, student athlete schedule is a little bit hectic. So we kind of bring community service to campus, and it's like we're gonna pack like back to school bags for like some underprivileged schools, but we get to do it on campus in Cox, which is our academic center. So you can drop in throughout the day and like still feel a part of something, but you don't have to like go at 12 o'clock when nobody can actually go. So I've loved to be a part of that. It's been really cool. I think a lot of people don't know where to start. Like they want to help people but they don't know where to start. So to get to be on the team who's leading that charge and like help people decide what's important to them and where do they want to serve was really cool. This past year, I was the special events slash campus traditions chair. So I got to help plan our Mikey Awards, which is like your end of the year banquet type thing. Got to help plan that. We got to do these things called Tiger Nights, and it basically is highlighting a sporting event. So we got to do men's tennis, and like maybe like a sport that not a lot of people show up to because it's at a weird time. It's during the week. It's whatever, and we just like market the heck out of that sporting event and try to get a ton of people there. So just a really cool opportunity to like serve our teams in a different way. I have loved that. We had our Mikey Awards on Monday. They were really, really awesome. And I liked just kind of a different perspective for my last year. But I would just encourage you to join because it like forces you out of your comfort zone a little bit, like out of your softball bubble or whatever bubble it is that you're a part of. And you have to learn to work with a different group of people. You have to learn to work with administration. I think that's huge for me too. Like you have all these people in administration who are going to like write me really good letters of recommendation or who are going to offer me a job in 6 months or whatever it is. But also you just get to be in the ears of people who actually create change. And if nobody goes to speak on behalf of your team, then none of the changes that your team needs get made. So I've appreciated getting to like speak for my team and voice for my team in that way. Like one thing we did that's like trivial and silly, there never used to be a crosswalk um, on the street that we park in this parking lot and you have to cross the street to get to the dining hall. And there wasn't a crosswalk. And cars don't stop if there's not a crosswalk. So everybody's like running across the street. And like that's not something administration thinks about. But we were like, hey, like we need a crosswalk and we need a pedestrian light. And they were like, oh, yeah, we can do that. And like something simple like that. But if you don't speak like on behalf of your teams, like they never would have known. So I think like an awesome opportunity to do that for problems that maybe they don't know about. It's been really cool. Highly recommend like, any opportunity that you get to be involved, even if it's not SAC, if it's your DEI council or if it's your student government, whatever it is, just find a way to like push yourself a little bit and build new relationships.
You are preaching, and I love that because it's what you said too, I think about the administrators and how that's gonna help you just learning to talk to
Mm-hmm.
people in that way. All of those things that are setting you up, the network that you're building, people are
Yes.
gonna remember that for sure, and you're gonna go back to them. Trust me,
Yeah.
almost 20 years now, it's affected my professional career as well. So kudos to you for figuring that out. I mean, as great as you are off the field, you're a stud on the field too, and I've enjoyed these, human highlight reels that are going on all over. So, I gotta ask, they talk about, like I look at LSU football, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
wide receiver you. As an outfielder, I'm about to give LSU credit, says you guys might be
Yeah.
the new outfield you. I mean, you go back to the Andrews sisters with AJ
Yes.
starting at Aaliyah, Sierra Briggs, and you running and diving all over. What's going on in Baton Rouge of like teaching everybody to catch?
I think some of it is recruiting for sure. A lot of places don't put an emphasis on outfield. Like they're okay with like putting a hitter out there or putting whatever it is, which I think is fine. Like not everybody has the same personnel, but I think that our staff puts an emphasis on like we're going to play the outfield. We're not going to just stick somebody out there. We're going to play the outfield well. And obviously, like you rattled off a bunch of names, and there are a ton mixed in there that like maybe people don't even remember who were incredible outfielders. It was a blessing in my career for the COVID year to let me play with Leah Andrews and let her like teach me what playing the outfield at LSU meant. I got to take a couple years ago. It was after Leah had graduated, so maybe my sophomore year. But I was like taking reps after practice one day, just for some extra or whatever. And Aaliyah and AJ like pulled up and they're like, "Oh, Allie, can we take reps with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, come on." And that was just so cool.
Okay.
Like you have, like I was standing in left field, Aaliyah standing in center, and AJ's in right, and like that was just my dream life right there. I was like, guys, this could never end, and I would be so happy. But that being said, they set an incredible standard of what it means to play outfield at LSU, to like look like an athlete in purple and gold and to do it really well. So super thankful to them. Outfield U definitely wouldn't be the same without them. I'll shout out Quinlan Dion too. She was part of Outfield U. Um, she just reminds us too, like with her like tenacity and love for LSU, what it's supposed to look like. But I think we just push each other here. Like our mentality is like you can catch that. Like if it's like 50 feet over the way, 50 feet out of the way, if it's over the fence, if it's in the infield, whatever it is, like you can catch that. And it has to be casual like that, and it has to be like, yeah, obviously, like not this like, oh, maybe you could like, I'm gonna be timid about it. Like, no, go catch it.
Hmm.
And I think we do a really good job of that now. The outfielders who are here, it's one of my favorite things about game day to like dive and catch something and look into the dugout at the two kids who play left field with me and see them like celebrating every moment that I have because like they pushed me for that, and they were like, Allie, like, duh, you can catch that. Like if I drop it, if I dive and miss it, if whatever, like you can catch that. Do it again. So I just think we have that attitude here of let's go catch everything, and if you miss, then like now you know. So it's a
That's
group effort for sure. It's continuing to push yourself. It's like taking pride in nothing hitting the grass. I think to like having your pitchers back, like I tell them that all the time. Like you throw your stuff over the plate, and like I'm gonna handle it. You know, like if it gets hot out here, don't worry about it. Um, it's an out. Go ahead, go back in there. So I just think having a little bit of pride in that, and that nothing hits your grass, is really cool, and it makes a great outfielder. But it definitely started like a long time before me, and it'll continue a long time after me because all of these kids, like Sierra and I, are doing our best to instill that in them, and they'll continue to instill that in the next group. And I know that like two really good outfielders are leaving, but there's gonna be two really good outfielders take their place too.
I love the culture. Look, I'm gonna toot my own horn, Allie. I gotta show you this. Look at that.
Excellent.
What do you give me? What's my grade?
Is the ball in your glove?
Of
Good
course
enough.
the ball's in
Good
my
enough.
glove.
Outs and out.
I love it, and I enjoy watching you guys play because it is a pride, right? It is a
Mm-hmm.
pride that nothing's dropping in my outfield. I had a Quinlan and I were teammates, played the outfield
Yep.
together back in our Impact Gold days. So I will shout her out too. But you guys, it's so important, and maybe because I'm biased and want to chat outfield all the time, but it's important to talk to young players about that mentality.
Absolutely.
Just go get the ball.
Absolutely. And I think it like carries over to every part of the field too. Like your infielder has have to take the same kind of pride in that. Your catchers and everything. But I'm just a little biased toward the outfield. I'm with you.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, I wanna hit on a couple of just hot topics of
Mm-hmm.
life of a student athlete right
Okay.
now. Especially we're in May, and I know a lot of things are around mental health and mental toughness, mental performance, and the things that you guys go on through now with the different pressures. I'm just curious how you personally manage that side with mental health, and then what resources do you guys have access to as student athletes?
Yeah, I think the resources at LSU are second to none. They're unbelievable. We have a staff of sports psychologists here who are like dedicated to the student athlete population and to I think our staff as well. Um, our the leader of that department, her name's Dr. Lakeitha Poole, and she is the goat. We love her. I would never have made it this far without her. So super thankful to her and just the way she is like dedicated to serving us and making sure we're in the best place possible to perform as well as we can, but then also to make sure that we're not only concerned about being in the best place possible to perform as well as we can. I think that's huge too. To be reminded that like as much as you want to be in a good mental space to perform well, like there's other things that your mental health affects also. Like you have to be like a great friend and a great ally before you can be a great softball player. So credit to them for reminding us of that always. I think our staff, like our softball staff, makes them incredibly available to us. And I think that not everywhere probably does that. Not every sport probably does that. So them just reminding us, hey, like Dr. Poole's available, like Bruce is available, whatever you guys need. Our athletic trainer does a great job of that also, just to remind us, like, we want you guys to be your best selves as much as we want you. Sorry. As much as we want you to like be your best softball player, we want you to be your best self. So those resources are excellent. They would like go and find us whatever we needed. We also have a sports psychologist who comes in. His name's Brian Kane, who he works with us. So more on the performance side, maybe less on the personal side. It's kind of the same thing. He's just available. Like our staff is like, if you want to see somebody, if you want a one-on-one with Brian Kane, if you want whatever it is that you feel like would help you be successful, then like they're going to make it happen. So really, really awesome. I'm sure that that is not the same everywhere. So a huge credit to them. They do a great job of like just making the resources available to us. I think how I personally manage all of it. Some days you don't. You know that. Some days you just don't.
Fair.
Some days you just have to go to class and you have to go to practice, and when you get home, you just have to go to bed. And that's the best thing that you can do for your mental health because it's busy. It is. It's a blessing to be that busy, but it's still a lot. So I always try to like make time to be a person. Our athletic trainer, we have a water challenge, like hydration challenge right now because it's so hot here. And part of it, as we've progressed, is like time to be a person. So you have to have 30 minutes a day where you are not an athlete and you're not a school or and you're not a student. And I think that's cool. Like, just goes to them again, reminding us like whatever you need to be you, like we want you to have that. So I try to do a good job of that. I have a hammock that I love. I set it up on the palm trees in Tiger Park on my off days, and yeah, you just try to find any moment that you can to like back up and have a little bit of perspective. Like this isn't all that there is. And I am certainly guilty of that. Like I eat, sleep, and breathe softball. And I love that. Not everybody does, but I love it. And so sometimes like people have to remind me, like, Ali, you need to go home. Pam, our trainer, she banned me from the field the other day. She said, I don't want to see you here. It's all right. Yes, ma'am. Um, but I just think having great people around, kind of like I said earlier, like when you go make your friends on other teams, they're not gonna ask you like my best friend on gymnastics, she doesn't care that I went 0 for 4 because she probably doesn't know what going 0 for 4 meant. And that is great to have sometimes. She was like, oh, like, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, like, I didn't swing very well today. And she's like, oh, like, okay, you know, but just wants me to like be my best. And that's so cool and so valuable to like your mental health and your like just kind of feelings of self about your performance is having people who don't care how practice went, who just want you. So I would say that like having a good group around you has made a huge, huge difference for me.
That's such a good point. Find those non-softball friends. It's great.
Yes,
It's great
for
that
sure.
are cheerleaders. How do you have any tool because you're doing a lot. I know you're a worker, so you're in the cages, you're at practice, you're in school, you're doing these things in the community. How do you balance that? Do you actually have tools? Like, do you use your calendar? I'm so curious of like
Yeah,
how you literally manage all of that.
I'm a Google Calendar girl. Um, so this is my Google Calendar. I love her. She There's stuff everywhere.
Oh, nice. Color coded.
And
I love it.
If it's not in the calendar, it's not happening. Like if I forget to put it in, I'm not going.
You're such an old soul.
Yes, I love it. But I think it's really valuable. It's just to have a way for you. I love my Google Calendar. I'm not a planner girl because I forget the planner. I don't bring the planner with me. And if I don't write it down right then, like I said, I'm not going. So I've loved it. That's a new thing for me this year, actually. I have that one. There's a couple of shared calendars. So I work with LSU Creative, and I have a creative calendar. Like, okay, you need to post this at this time, and Ashley, my boss, is going to post this at this time, and so you can't post right then, and things like that. All of my non softball related things go on the Google Calendar because I know I'm not going to miss practice. Uh, I might miss everything else, but I'm not going to miss practice. So everything goes on there. That's been a huge tool for me this year. But I think as far as balance goes, I'm not, like you said, like I'm a little bit of a worker, so I'm not great at saying no. Because I want to help you and I want to do everything. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I have 3 places to be at the same time tomorrow. Whoops. Um, but I think you just kind of have to know you a little bit, especially as you get later into the season and you're tired. Like, you're just going to be tired in May. That's just kind of how it is. No matter how much sleep you get and how much rest you get, you're just going to be tired in May. It's been a long season. So just knowing yourself, and like as much as I really want to like go get ice cream with you tonight, like I need to go to bed. Like I need to go to bed. And sleep is huge. I would say sleep is probably the number one thing that like will help you as far as remembering where you have to be and managing all of your tasks. It's like you have to sleep. And I'm not always great at it, so I totally understand. But just being able to say no, like I need to go home and like scroll on Instagram for 30 minutes before I go to bed tonight and not go wherever it is that you're asking me to go. So having a calendar, huge, but just knowing yourself and like I need to be a person by myself for a little bit to be my best for you guys tomorrow. And some people are the opposite. Like you don't need to go home and sit by yourself. You need to go and you need to interact and you need to do all of those things so that you can be your best tomorrow. So knowing yourself and knowing what works for you is huge.
Love that. I'm curious. I mean, you've spent all 4 years at LSU, and I know you're a diehard Tiger. But the transfer portal, it's a huge thing right now. So curious from your perspective as being a teammate of having players leave that go to the transfer portal and then bringing players in to what's that experience like? And how do you guys manage that as a team, especially maybe when new players coming in through the transfer portal?
Yeah, I think we have done a good job with players coming in, but I also think that our staff has done a good job at like vetting and knowing what players are coming in. So we've had great people come in. Like we haven't had transfers come in who don't care about being here or who like are a mess or whatever. We have players who want to be at LSU and who are like diehard Tigers as much as I am. Like Carly Petty will bleed purple and gold if you cut her, I promise. And so that really matters. Like knowing who is coming into your program and who you're allowing into your space really matters. I think they have done a great job of it as far as the portal goes. And I know for our staff, like the portal is to like fill a need. It's not like, oh, I have this kid that I recruited who whatever, and I don't really want to like pour the time into her. Like, let's just get somebody who's ready. And I have so much respect for that because I think that's what it's supposed to be. Like to fill a need, to fill an injury, to whatever kind of like space that you have, I think is really important. But it also just like further affirms your trust in your coaches because you think that they believe in you still. And if you go to a program I mean, it happens all over the country. Like people just continue to come in year after year, and everybody on the field was somewhere else. Like it'd be really hard to play there, and it'd be really hard to go there as a freshman. So I think having the trust in your staff on how they're going to use the portal is huge. Having a staff who knows exactly who's coming in. I was so happy when we announced the Kelly transfer because again, like I played with her in travel ball and I know the kind of person that she is and know the kind of work that she's going to put in. So a huge nod to them and how they've done their homework on the kids who come in here. The transfer portal, as far as players who are leaving, I think it has purpose. I really think it does. If you're not a good fit, if you get here and maybe like you're just not good enough, like you're good enough to go play every day somewhere, but it's not here. I totally understand that, and that's okay. But if you like your kids who are at like 3 schools in 4 years or whatever it is, I think that like it's not supposed to be that. I think it's supposed to be you finding the right place for you. And I think it's really cool too. And I'm sure there will be differing opinions on this, but like your kids who do go to a mid major and who have an incredible career and who have a chance to help a team go to the World Series, I think it's for that. I think you deserve that opportunity to like play on a team who has a chance to like go really far. I think that really matters too. I know that that's kind of like iffy for a lot of people, but I think that's a really cool opportunity for you. You put your time in and you worked really hard to be the player you are now, and you deserve an opportunity to play at the highest level of softball. So I think that that matters too. But kind of like I was saying earlier, it's not supposed to be, oh, like, I feel like my coach slighted me, or like, I wasn't good enough to play, so I'm just going somewhere else. Or I just don't think it's supposed to be that necessarily. I think it's just about you like finding the right fit and your best opportunity to be the best softball player that you can be. And if it's not where you are, then okay.
Very, very mature perspective on that too. It's interesting, right? Because like you guys are dealing in and out now,
Mm-hmm.
all over. I'm gonna finish, Allie, with just a quick. I call it a rapid fire.
Yeah.
So ideally, the first things that come to mind, you know, what, however you want to answer it.
Okay.
So, number one thing you would tell your freshman self coming into campus on day one. So now that you've been there 4 years, what's the number one thing you would go back and tell Allie freshman year of fall?
I actually just had to give this speech, so this works great. The first thing I would tell her is you can't do this by yourself. I am a little bit of a lone wolf and like tried to do it all on my own. And like COVID forced some of that, sure, but I've definitely kind of been like that in general. And you can't do it by yourself. You need people who are supportive of you, people who want you to be your best. Like, I wish I would have let the people who were trying to pour into me do it sooner. And the second thing I would tell her is it's okay to care so much. Like, I think I never thought you would have like people in college athletics who didn't care that much. And like, and that's every team. That's in your life, that's in your work life, that's everything. So I think I would just remind her, like, don't let those people make you feel bad for how much you care. It's fine to be in the cage every hour of the day. It's fine to like do the right thing all the time. It's fine to whatever, insert XYZ. It's okay how much you care and like how much you live and die by this, because it's your life right now. And LSU deserves that from you and your school deserves that from you. And I think I kind of let people like not ostracize me a little bit, but like let people like make me feel whatever for trying to do the right thing all the time. And I would just tell you like it's okay how much you care. Like continue to do that. It'll only make you better in the long run.
Did it go by fast for you?
Yes, it certainly has. I think I was very aware the whole time though of how fast it was going. Even like after freshman year, I was like, "Holy cow, this is already over." But it's gone by incredibly fast. It has been a whirlwind for sure because you are so busy. I always tell people like it feels like the weeks go slow, but then everything else goes fast just because you have so much to do. So just trying to be present in every moment that you can. You only get to do it one time.
Yeah, it's crazy that of how fast it goes, and people will tell you that, but then it's like, oh wow, it really does.
Yes.
You got to be a part of our Stars of Tomorrow event last year, and I think you looked at me and were like, man, I wish we had this when I was younger.
Hmm.
What's your favorite memory or takeaway from the Stars of Tomorrow event last year?
I would say like the community that some of those players got to create. It's really cool to like look across the field and be like, oh, I know that girl. Like I got to play with her. I got to be whatever it was. I got to practice with her. I got to like be made better by being around her. I think that all the time from that team that we talked about earlier in the podcast. Like when we played Florida and I like got to second base and Skylar Wallace came and like smacked me on the helmet. She was like, "What's up, girl?" And I think that's an incredible like moment to have. Just to be like thankful and proud of like how far they've come. So I think that was cool. Like all these kids who didn't know each other and had to like play against each other the next day just to get to become friends and like they'll remember that and get to have that relationship for their whole career.
Super cool. Super cool. Okay, keeping kind of AU and going back to this 2020 class, which is now a hybrid of our
Mhm.
graduate seniors and our seniors. I just watched the WNBA draft and they talked about how loaded it was. And I'm looking at the seniors in college and how
Yes.
loaded this draft class is slash could be.
Mhm.
Who's your number one draft pick this year? If you get to pick, if you're running the professional league, you got the
Oh,
first overall pick. Who's your first pick?
I feel like it has to be Tiari, right? That I think that might be who I would pick. Just to, like have watched her swing all these years. She's an unbelievable player. I feel like every time I turn the TV on, she's like gotten another hit or won some other award or whatever it is. She's just incredible, and I got the chance to meet her at Stars Tomorrow this past year, and I was like, oh man, she's like a good person too. Dang it, because you need her to be something, you know. But she was unbelievable, an incredible person, and we've gotten to like stay in touch a little bit here and there. So I think I would probably have to go her. Just an unbelievable athlete, and I'm sure she will continue to be impressive.
And she is a great, great person too. Hey, I'm
Yes.
going to shout you out because in that home run derby, you, Tiari Jennings, Megan Grant, Olivia DiNardo, Ali Newland hit the most home
Yeah,
runs.
she
I'm
did.
shouting you out for
Yeah,
that.
she did. Yeah, she did. I'm a home run derby queen. Let me tell you. Maybe
I have
not in
heard
real
of her.
life, but I
I
love a good home run derby.
Okay, last question. I love my head coach at A&M was all about
Mhm.
legacy. So, not to like make you cry or anything here, but like last go at it,
Mhm.
postseason, LSU, when you play your final game, what do you want your legacy to be?
I hope that people just remember how much I loved it. Like how fun softball was for me, how much I loved LSU. And that's always what like it comes back to for me. I hope that like we're the class who takes this team back to the World Series. I hope that more than anything. Like more than people even know. But I think at the end of the day, like when I walk out of Tiger Park for the last time, I want the people on the berm to have been like, it was so fun to watch her play outfield every day. Like it was so fun to like get to play this game with her. And that's just what I hope people remember is like she loved it here and she loved the people who were here too. Like she would have done anything for them. That's what I hope.
Well, Ali, I think you are continuing to leave that legacy. I'm excited for you guys. You're a super fun team to watch. Beat up on my Aggies this year, but still love you guys and enjoy watching. Thank you so much for joining us and for being a part of this. I think you have so many great things to share for young players, even current college players. So thank you for joining us on the
Yes.
car ride home.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
It's been a blast and good luck. I'm excited for you
Thank you.
guys. I want to see you in Oklahoma City, okay?
Me too. Hope to see you there.
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying the Car Ride Home podcast. Hopefully, we're filling the air and making your car ride home a little bit more enjoyable. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, and leave us a review. If you have any special guest or requests that you'd like to hear or have us bring a guest or a story onto the podcast, shoot us an email, info@thealliancefastpitch.com. We'd love to hear from you.